Hello, I'm here today to give you a quick demonstration of EO Consulting's new schools benchmarking tool using the latest business intelligence technology. The first thing to do is to log on to EO's business intelligence portal and go to dashboards. From the list, select one of the relevant reports you have been given access to. In this case, we are going to select the Savings Dashboard for primary schools within the Midlands School Commissioner region. I'm going to select a school within this region, but to make it topical, I'm going to select Robert Piggot Infant and Junior Schools in the PM's constituency to see if their claims of being under budgetary pressure is justified. When searching for Robert Piggot School in the establishment box, we see there is both an infant and junior school. I'm going to select the junior school here and then in the comparison box select the infant school. We can see that from the 1,960 primary schools within the region, on a spend per pupil basis, the junior school is ranked 1,244th or on the 63rd percentile, while the infant school is 6 percentiles lower. Were the junior school to improve to the 50th percentile, i.e. spend the same amount as the average school per pupil within the region, then the school could save £262 per pupil or nearly £48,000 a year. So on this simple analysis, asking for additional contributions is hard to justify. We can see that there are three expenditure areas where savings could potentially be made: operational staff, learning resource and other. Let's consider these spend groupings in more detail by clicking onto them. You will see that, taken by themselves, they now fall into the highest or most expensive decile. Let's enlarge the graph for further analysis and drill down to the 32 CFR areas. You can see that the main spend differences are coming from admin and clerical staff, although this might be because premises staff got categorised against this element. Other staff, non-IT learning resources, special facilities, and other insurance premiums are all in the 95th percentile and above, and would be areas for further examination. Let's now narrow down the benchmarking sample set and compare with schools within its local authority, in this case Wokingham Borough Council, those that are in the same low free school meal band, and those of the same pupil size. I'm going to pick a range of 100 to 300 to incorporate the schools separately, and if they were combined, let's say on one site. You can see that the sample size now reduces to 26 schools, which can be found by enlarging the ranking table list. I'm going to go to Wokingham Borough's website to see if Robert Piggot is part of any cluster whereby schools might operate more closely together and learn from each other. Sure enough, both infant and junior schools are part of a northern cluster, which I'm going to copy and bring up next to my sample list. I'm going to highlight those on both lists and rank on size of school. If you compare the junior school with Polehampton C of E Junior, then Polehampton from a spend per pupil basis would appear to be twice as efficient. But as we know, even when based on a per pupil basis, that's not a totally fair comparison, because we can see that Polehampton is at full complement, while Robert Piggot is 2 forms down. A better comparison would be Polehampton Infant School, but is slightly better ranked, but only has 1 pupil more. So if we go back and input Polehampton Infant as the comparison school, we can see that it is 4 percentiles better ranked than Robert Piggot, and this equates to £49 per pupil, or just under 9k a year. Looking at staff costs, it does not appear there is much difference. And indeed, isolating for staff costs shows there to be only £30 per pupil in it. So if we just look at non-staff costs and normalise for catering, then you can see that the spend difference is substantial. So what can we conclude were Robert Piggot to become equally efficient by moving to the same 39th percentile in these non-staff or back office areas as Polehampton, a school of similar size within the same primary cluster but is rated outstanding. Well, we can see that the estimated saving of nearly £400 per pupil would be over twice that of a parent contribution the school is asking for. Going back to the list of available dashboards and clicking on the same regional CFR dataset, you will see multiple tabs all designed to analyse data from a unique perspective. I'm going to go to the Per Pupil Expenditure Comparison tab and compare Robert Piggot on the left with Polehampton on the right and the LA average in the centre. We can see that the average low free school meal primary school in Wokingham spends 5% more of its budget on teaching and learning, while Polehampton spends a significant 10% more. While its utility spend is on par, the premises spend is slightly lower, but when isolating for just maintenance, it does not appear there is any undue skimping, but may be storing up backlog maintenance issues. Moving to the Per Pupil 3-year trend comparison tab and comparing Robert Piggot Jr. in blue against the regional average in grey, you can see that the nominal income and expenditure has grown over the last few years and is in slight surplus, while on average across the region both income and expenditure has fallen, the latter significantly. If we break down income for all cohort-related delegated funding and compare with expenditure on teaching and learning, and then change the comparison sample set to just Wokingham primary schools, we can see a slightly different picture in that Robert Piggot Jr. School's income in these areas has fallen more than average and represents 5% less of total income than the average Wokingham school. At the same time, it has been able to go against the trend and slightly increase teaching and learning expenditure, although as a percent of total budget it is still below the Wokingham average. If we further reduce the comparison sample set to those schools in the same cluster, we can see that donations have been rising at twice the rate, although the amount raised is still below the average in the cluster. The main core income differential seen previously seems to be bridged by a very healthy facilities income, which when combined with donations represents 11.5% of income. And by expanding on the table, you can see that this is twice as much per pupil as the next highest in the cluster. Before concluding, I just want to have a quick look to see if there are any underlying cost pressures coming from workforce trends. So back to our dashboard list and into our Workforce School Trend Overview tab. We can immediately see two significant trends. Average teacher salary has significantly fallen over the last 3 years to now be below the national and local average, while the number of full-time equivalent teacher assistants has increased by 64% to the extent that the school now has less pupils per teacher assistants than the local average. This, along with an over doubling of support staff, is driving up costs. That said, if we skip back to the School Allocation Overview tab in the CFR dashboard, you can see that total staff costs is still 1% below that of the cluster average, and the only implied misallocation would appear to be within the sub-elements, cost of other staff and administrative and clerical staff, which represent 4% more of Robert Piggot Jr. School's expenditure than the average of schools in its local cluster. So what have we learned from our quick 8-minute analysis using EO's dashboards focusing on the exam question of whether Robert Piggot schools need additional parent contributions? Our analysis is predominantly focused on just the junior school, and the main points are summarised in the next 2 slides. I won't go over them again, you can pause the video to read them in slower time. Needless to say, the answer is never as straightforward as it first might appear. My focus has been on operational efficiency, and I have not, for instance, cross-referenced with outcomes which we could have explored by going to EO's KS2 performance dashboards. The idea is to give schools, whether SLT members, governors or those that might be external scrutineers, the analytical tools with which to mine and present data in a way that simply allows anyone to cross-reference how a school is performing, not just with national and local averages, but within clusters of schools which you might be working with and which together the information could help reveal best practice. It's not designed to give you the answers, since all schools will be operating under unique constraints, just for comparative data to ask why things are different and how things can be improved. I do hope you found the demonstration interesting. If you'd like to know more on how to get access to your suite of dashboards, then please do contact us at info@eoconsult.com. Thanks for listening.